This week's channeled message from the angels is an invitation to slow down time in order to thin the veil. And that's going to help us not only see the divine and see our angelic friends better, but also to see ourselves better. So, welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am so glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining me. And for those of you who are new, my name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel. By that, I mean I go into a deep meditative state or trance. And from there, I raise my awareness up as high as I can go, and I go a little higher and I connect. And then the angels and the messages, messages and healing come through. And I share it here with you guys on YouTube. And this week's message is a long series of messages. They've been giving us a weekly play-by-play about where we are right now in our process, in the process of our shift, of this awakening. And this particular message, they're talking about that what we might be feeling is the world is very pressurized, and that pressurization comes not only from the craziness that surrounds us, the poly crisis of the world, where it seems to be getting hotter and more violent and more crazy minute by minute, but also the sense for those of you who have been working on yourselves and working on this path and working towards the shift, that the feeling that, oh my gosh, have I done enough? Am I there? Am I ready? Am I going to miss it? Right? That's a big, am I going to miss it? And they're saying it is that feeling of being pressurized. And they're encouraging us to slow it down. And they're saying there's a multitude of benefits from slowing it down. Is not only do we get more out of every minute, but it reduces the pain of the conflict that's around us. We have an easier passage. So they're saying this is going to be a way that we can make the things that are difficult around us, that whatever you might be confronting right now, this is a way to make it easier, to take the pain out, to make it much less conflict ridden and difficult. So it's a great message. All right. I also want to invite you guys, if you would like to get together in person and meet in person, I would love that too. I have 3 events coming up, which I would love to see you at. The first one is in New York on September 30th. And it's a small group. We're going to be getting together for a half day for conversation, all about the ascension and whatever we feel like. And the second one is 11/11 in Los Angeles. It's going to be awesome. And then the third one is a local event to where I live here in Seattle. And that is the Wisdom Soup Spirit Summit, which is a full day healing retreat to celebrate healers and healing in our area. So I would love to see you at any of the 3. And they are all 3 on my website, which is anntucker.com. So I hope you will consider joining me. All right. Thank you. And I hope you enjoy the message. All right. You guys ready? Let's dig in. Here's what they say. Beginnings are afoot, new beginnings, a contemplative time for yourself to surrender what has been hard or difficult, to bring into the new sensations of life as it springs within you, a gentleness toward your experience, a sense of belonging and understanding one another, a lifting of the veil to some portion, a sense of what we are, nearby always and in force, a sense of us in proximity. There are many among us, ever present, ever listening. Contemplative time to surrender, you are embarking on a journey of self. That which you have been on, the unknowing turmoil of self-recovery, is an instantiation of life that envelops the self in a cloud of surmise and suggestion, and lifts the veil only when it's explicitly invited. The self in past tense has been embargoed from the free and flowing ways of time and times to come. Past selves have been harnessed to the embroilment in that which cannot be understood at face value, experiencing and embarking on a journey of themselves without the knowledge to identify that which moves from within. In these times arriving, this will all surrender to a new palette and method, a sense of yourselves painted differently. We are enhancing what you know of self today. We are taking on the umbrella of all things known and letting it fall apart, and to distinguish between what you have known and that which is just beyond the senses now. We are enlarging your capacity to comprehend what you know, to take into the stride of your own understanding the second step, which has always been hidden, to let the veil as it is known become thinner and transparent, and to see what we are, standing, yielding to yourselves. We envelop you now in the suggestive pose and the suggestive action of lengthening the time of your own expansion, of lengthening the time coming within which you are able to truncate your journey of distraction, lengthening the pause so that you may toil less readily in that which is onerous, so that you may extinguish the fires of your own exhaustion, that you may experience what is known and what is coming as two different vessels, and to see the difference between them. This time of pause and surrender to your own introspection is heavy and laden with the burden of time. It is pressurized. It is placed into an incubation. A sense of progress must be made, a sense of it is happening now and I am circumventing that which I drew myself in for this life. I'm making progress, but not through, around, circumventing. We wish to draw you back to center and allow you the field and the folly to experience what you came to know about yourself, to slow down into tranquil state and to see what you are in heartbreak and wholeness, in heaven-held grace and when you are downtrodden, to feel within the self the shift you are making, to feel within the self that all time is conquered for now, that you may pause and reflect and take on tenderly the fragrance of your own walking and experience life as though it is offering yourself this reprieve. To feel amongst yourself and those you've known that all that is happening is a blessing, that you may extinguish the calamities which have drawn your focus, the feelings and sensations of trials arisen just lately, and instead move into a peace that is palpable and friendly, where you may inexhaustively interchange and interpose the nuances of your own understanding and come to learn more about yourselves in detail, to see what you are, but without calamitous effect, to see what you are, to have and hold your own belonging, but in the context of perusal. An inexhaustible substance, time is and can be gotten. Time is the function of your noticing that the passing of the instances of the now reflection. We wish to expand the state of your vision, to expand the wonderment that you possess, and to let it draw out further for your own perusal, to allow yourselves to experience the light that is passing through this realm of experience, but from the perspective of yielding. Yielding to the self to favor of yielding the self to the favor of your own curiosity. And in this space and in the happening, with the absence of the traumatic response, you can feel the gravity upon yourselves and let drift down all that is callous and careworn, and see for yourselves what you are in calm reflection. As all are wont to do, the world marches on in a painful reflection of speed and hurriedness. There is the sense of time's pressing, that all must conjunct readily at the same time and be held hereafter differently. We say this is not true. There is not the pressurized experience that must be had. It can be one of individuality, one that is chosen by you, one that is experienced differently from now, and to feel within the self that which you have been fielding, that which has risen into your conscious awareness, which has been difficult, that which is trying, which has been held in conflict, can be dissipated, can be watched and reared into awareness in gentle certitude and confidence in your perspective. This can happen through the expansion, through a willingness of yourself to increase the time fold within which you exist, to let your perception of each moment slow down, to let yourselves and your heartbeat diminish in its intensity, to become sacrosanct in your observance of what comes, to let drift no more the self into the fevered pitch of the all and the always, but to trace your steps lovingly, to linger within the moments, to take the calm that presents itself and to recognize that in so doing all rises to meet your expectations, and you may take one small bite as opposed to the whole of your environment. And in so doing, that which meets you is diminished, made to feel and be experienced as something lessened in its impact. However, because deeply contemplated, it leaves its understanding more permanently. You take in and harbor for the self that which has meaning and exists not in the turmoil that can potentially be held within it. There is in each objective that you encounter the energy to be yielded. It is as chemistry, and a reaction is occurring between yourself and that which you encounter. These reactions contain an energetic release. This can be felt in the body and in the emotions as something trying and potent. Or they can be exhausted by the simple need to contemplate, by the simple reverence for the time that is passing. The acknowledgement that the chaotic combustion that is happening is lessened when you are in no entrapment, in no congealed experience, in no method of being drawn forward that does not come with your own knowledge. When you are conscious of self, when you are aware of your passage, when you are drawn into the experience of life with full knowledge. In so doing, you welcome home the experiences of conflict and difficulty within a frequency you can harbor more easily, within the tolerances of your own good grace. You can feel yourself transported into the boundaryless experience of mastery of self, soul, and seat. So super cool, like very poetic message. Like I love like so many beautiful passages in this one, like so many things that I really respond. I like, my highlighter was going crazy on this one. So, and good morning. Hey, Brandy, I actually been meaning to reach out to you because I have a question for you. Anyway, so let's connect. But yeah, so it is a really, really cool message, and about really it's giving us a real way that we can make things easier for ourselves. And it's also about, I call it thinning the veil, because they say this is like part of the experiences of thinning the veil is going to be that, yes, we will be able to experience the angels, but also we will have a better understanding of ourselves. So it's like, I love in the beginning of this message how they say that basically we have been bumbling through this experience without having any access or any knowledge to understand ourselves. Like basically we have to fabricate everything. We have to learn about ourselves just by falling into life, right? By bumping into life. And they're saying after this, we will have access to our higher self. And so it's going to be a really different experience. Like that veil between us and our higher self is thinner. So it's very, very cool. So, all right. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and break it down. All right. They say new beginnings are afoot, new beginnings. And we know they've been saying like we are at it, like this is a pivotal time we're coming into right now. And they're referring to this as like a beginning time, right? And Brandy's saying this goes beautifully with my latest post that said, we are the sky and all else is the weather. Oh, that is awesome. Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's perfect. They say a contemplative time for yourself to surrender what has been hard or difficult. And that's really the core of the message is by being in a contemplative state, we stretch out time, which changes our interaction with the difficulties that we're experiencing so that they don't erupt and like combust into something that's really hard for us, so that we move through them really, really gently. And they're saying to bring into the new sensations of life as it springs within you, a gentleness toward your experience, a sense of belonging and understanding one another, a lifting of the veil to some portion, so there it is, a sense of what we are, nearby always and in force, a sense of us in proximity. There are many among us ever present, ever listening. So they're saying, yes, lifting the veil, and it lifts the veil between us and the angels, but also between us and our understanding of ourselves, our higher self, right? All right, they go on to say, contemplative time to surrender. You are embarking on a journey of self. That which you have been on, they're saying that which you've been on, the journey we've been on, the unknowing turmoil of self-recovery. And that's how they're titling it. Like basically the karmic path that we've all been on is the unknowing turmoil of self-recovery. Like, yeah, well said. Because basically, like, yeah, we are born without having insight to ourselves. We do have to bump into life to understand it. It is turmoil, and it's all about trying to find ourselves again. Like we're bumbling around in the dark, right? So that the unknowing turmoil. So that is what we've been on. They're saying it is an the unknowing turmoil of self-recovery is an instantiation of life that envelops the self in a cloud of surmise and suggestion. And and lifts the veil only when it's explicitly invited. So here they say that this life that we're in, it envelops the self in a cloud of surmise. So surmise is supposing without proof. And I thought that was a wonderful word to choose, because so much about the veil being down is about believing without proof. Like so much about our relationship to source and our relationship to ourselves is about faith. And so it's surmise. We're supposing it's real, but most often, most people in the world don't have physical proof, don't have any physical experience of the divine. And so it's supposing without proof. We're in a cloud of surmise and suggestion, right? And lifts the veil only when it's explicitly invited. So explicitly here, so when it's invited, it means when it's clear and detailed manner with no room for doubt. So when does the veil lift? When we are totally free of doubt, which is really a hard state to get to. But that is when the veil lifts for us right now. It's moments of utter clarity, right? And when we are free of doubt. And those are the moments, like free of doubt means we have total faith, so we are willing to see past the veil. So perfect word, explicitly, free of doubt. Yep, they don't choose their words accidentally. All right, they go on to say, the self in past tense has been embargoed from the free and flowing ways of time and times to come. Again, I love that. It has been embargoed is like banned, restricted. So what we have been has been banned from the free and flowing ways of time. In other words, we have had the feeling of having no control over time and times to come. In other words, the good stuff that's on the horizon. We've been embargoed from that. We've been banned from it. Past selves have been harnessed to the embroilment of that which cannot be understood at face value, experiencing and embarking on a journey of themselves without the knowledge to identify that which moves from within. So that's one of my quotes I highlighted. I thought that was a really good one. That we've been harnessed, so really stuck in and can't get out of in the embroilment. So it's really this idea that we're stuck in that which cannot be understood at face value. So, and that is so true, that in our lives, at face value, we would think everything that's happening around us is happening to us, and that it's everybody else is that we don't understand. If we're looking at it from face value, we don't understand that everything is a projection of what's inside of us, right? And so that is the illusion. That's the conundrum that we have to wake up from. And so that's what we've been embroiled in. All right, and then here they say, we are on a journey of themselves without the knowledge to identify that which moves from within. So that's the awareness that we try to come to. They go on to say, Brandy's saying, so very true, right? I know, huh? They go on to say, in these times arriving, this will all surrender to a new palette and method, a sense of yourselves painted differently. And I like that they're using painting here because it is about expression of ourselves. We are enhancing what you know of self today. We are taking on the umbrella of all things known and letting it fall apart and distinguish between what you have known and that which is just beyond the senses now. We are enlarging your capacity to comprehend what you know. So this is a super interesting metaphor. So if you think they say, okay, we're taking on the umbrella of all things known. So think about the idea of an umbrella, and it has these ribs, right? An umbrella kind of is like, the umbrella is like the catch-all that holds everything. And an umbrella is built, it has these ribs with these sections, right? And so they're saying we are taking the umbrella that holds everything that you know and letting it fall apart. So imagine that umbrella splitting at the seams and making space between the ribs. And within that space comes letting it fall apart and distinguish between what you have known and that which is just beyond the senses now. So that which is between the seams, or what is the extra empty spaces, we break apart that umbrella, is that which is just beyond the senses. And they're saying we are enlarging your capacity to comprehend what you know. So they're making, it's like that metaphor. Imagine that umbrella just enlarging by splitting apart in every seam and making space and becoming larger. And within that space comes this understanding that we were blinded to before. They say to take into the stride of your own understanding the second step, which has always been hidden. So it's as if that extra fold of the umbrella was always there. It's the second step that we just never see, right? That it's like imagine like with the heartbeat. The heartbeat has like two, it's not just boom, boom, boom. It's ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. It's the second heartbeat. It's that afterthought. And that is the little bit that's hidden behind the veil that they're talking about here. It's that second beat that is our comprehension, right? Our awareness from that higher perspective. So they're trying to draw that into our awareness here. They're saying to let the veil, as is known, become thinner and transparent, to see what we are standing, yielding to yourself. So part of this, definitely seeing ourselves, but definitely having a deeper understanding, a deeper connection, and potentially connection with the angels, right? We have a connection, but seeing them even. And they've talked about that before, which is so cool. So cool, right? So, okay. So they go on to say, we envelop you now in the suggestive pose, in the suggestive action of lengthening the time of your own expansion. And I like that they use the word suggestive here because it's like stimulating thought, stirring mental associations. So they're trying to get us engaged in this new idea. They're saying you envelop us now in this exciting new thought. They're trying to get us enthused for this. And you're saying a very interesting way to put that. Of course, it's from the angels. And hi, Mike, glad you could join in. I'm sorry, you guys, that I was late this morning. So thank you so much for making it. All right. So they're trying to give us this new excitement about this new thing they're going to be sharing, which is of lengthening the time coming within which you are able to truncate your journey of distraction. So we know we're in this phase right now where we are meant to be absolving all of our karma, right? We're meant to be going through and dealing with all of our past selves and understanding ourselves better. And they're saying that they want to lengthen that time, the time that we have, in which we are able to truncate your journey of distraction. So they're saying lengthening the pause. The pause is this time right now that we're in where we're able to go through all this, where we're able to confront ourselves and to clear as much as we can and to learn about ourselves as much as we can. And this is the pause, and they want to lengthen it so that you may toil less readily in that which is onerous, so that you may extinguish the fires of your own exhaustion, that you may experience what is known and what is coming as two different vessels and see the difference between them. So they're saying if we slow it down, then it won't be as hard, that it will be less onerous, right? That you may toil less readily in that which is onerous, so that you may extinguish the fires of your own exhaustion. So think about that. What that says to me is busy, busy, busy all the time, becoming exhausted because we're doing so much or working so hard, or just, or spinning. It could be the anxiety, whatever it is, but letting go of that. So that you may experience what is known and what is coming as two different vessels and see the difference between them. So they want us to have in this pause time the ability to recognize that's what it was and this is what it's becoming. Yeah. And thank you for the good wishes for the interview today. It did go well. I think it will be a while before it's out, like 8 to 10 weeks. So it'll be a little while, but it was super fun. So thank you so much. All right. So next phrase they're saying here, this time of pause and surrender to your own introspection is heavy and laden with the burden of time. It is pressurized. It is placed into an incubation. A sense of progress must be made. A sense of it is happening now and I am circumventing that which I drew for myself in this life. I'm making progress but not through, around, circumventing. So here they're saying, think about this. They're saying, so in this time of pause and surrender that we're in right now, to your own introspection, it is heavy and laden with the burden of time. So we are all going through it no matter what. But does it feel heavy or does it feel light? Right? As we're trying to go through this process of encountering as much of ourselves as we possibly can, how are we perceiving it? Is it hard? Are you going through a hard time? Does it feel heavy? And so they're saying the time is pressurized. It is placed into an incubation. And an incubation, very interesting choice of words, incubation is controlled conditions for development. And so we are in controlled conditions for development. Like basically that is what this is. We are in a pressure cooker right now with all the chaos going around us. Like just think about just in the last weekend, we had not only the highest temperature around the world ever on record in the entire globe, was incredibly hot, which is not pleasant. Nobody wants to be in 110 degrees, right? It's a terrible feeling. And at the same time, I think we had something like 20 mass killings in the US in the last very short period of time. It's ridiculous. Like over the 4th of July weekend, we had 5, I think, mass killings, which is so like craziness, right? So it is a pressure cooker. So it is pressurized, they're saying. And they're saying, and you were placed into an incubation, which controlled conditions for development. But also think about that, is that one of the things we are trying to get away from is the desire to control. And to be in an incubator, to be pressurized, is controlled conditions. We are trying to free ourselves from the desire to control. So we don't necessarily want to be in an incubator, right? We want to be in a free flowing state of allowing. So they say a sense of, and this is what we are feeling, a sense of, and this is part, I think, is like subliminal, a sense of progress must be made, a sense of it is happening now, and I am circumventing that which I drew for myself in this life. I am making progress, but not through, around, circumventing. So there's the feeling, because of this sense that the world is changing really, really fast, that we are headed to this ascension, that all this stuff is happening. There's this sense of like, I just need to get through it. I just need to hurry up. And in that process of just trying to get through it, what we are actually doing is going around it. That we're just trying to get to not pay attention to what's triggered inside of us, so that we can just hurry up and get to the next stage. And that is the process of not coping with that which I drew for myself in this life, that which I designed, right? That which I wanted to experience. And so making progress, yes, but not through, around, circumventing. So, and I think that's an important statement, because they've said before that we don't have to be perfect in order to go through this process, this shift that we're going through. We don't have to be perfect, that we will go through the shift regardless, but that this is an opportunity to learn as much about ourselves and clear as much about ourselves as we can. So we want to take advantage of it. And so it is the idea that the more we can do now, that because it is, the circumstances are so ripe and so prime, it is a great time to engage as much as possible, to go through, not circumvent. But it's difficult, it's hard, because it's been super chewy and super difficult, right? Super triggering. And you're saying, where you say, not now that feelings seem to have subsided, fingers crossed, it stays that way for me and all hope for you too. I do hope for you too. And you're saying, me feeling I was missing the boat, LOL, and indeed has indeed subsided. That is awesome. And this is going to happen in ways differently for different people. So it'll meet you, wherever you are, which is ideal. And that's part of the message too, right? All right. So then they go on to say, we wish to draw you back to center, to allow you the field and the folly to experience what you came to know about yourself, to slow down into tranquil state, and to see what you are in heartbreak and wholeness, in heaven's held grace, and when you are downtrodden, to feel the shift that you are making. So this is really about, okay, yes, it is crazy out there, and they want to draw us back to this center column of light, which is about our harmony, about our balance and our connection to ourself and source. They're saying, and to allow you the field and folly to experience what you came to know about yourself. So this is like, take the pressure off and allow you to just live it, to love it, to play, to have fun with it even. The field and folly. The field is like wide open, go live it. And the folly is like, laugh at yourself, have fun with it. It doesn't have to be this heavy, horrible thing. They say to slow down into tranquil state and to see what you are in heartbreak and wholeness. So this is to see both, right? To see us in heartbreak and wholeness. In heaven held grace, and when you are downtrodden. So I love that. To feel within the self the shift that you are making. So that is, they're trying to make us, and they've talked about this before, they want us to be super aware of the shift that we're making, because it is through our awareness, when we feel it and understand it, we then communicate that to the collective and to the universe. So the whole universe is trying to learn from the experience that we are having. And you're saying, so screaming and crying at the sky is encouraged. Woo! Totally. Yes, absolutely. Yep, go right through it. Exactly. Not around it, but through it. Yes. All right. They go on to say, to feel within the self that all time is conquered for now, that you may pause and reflect and take on tenderly the fragrance of your own walking and experience life as though it is offering yourself this reprieve. So feel it really as an invitation to slow down, and to, when things are hard, to take the time to just move through them at an easier pace and not feel there's no pressure to go through it fast. Yeah. They go on to say, to feel amongst yourselves and those you've known that all that is happening is a blessing, that you may extinguish the calamities which have drawn your focus, the feelings and sensations of trials arisen just lately, and instead move into a peace that is palpable and friendly. So who doesn't want that? to move away from, and this is in the midst of all the crazy, how do we move into this peace space? They say, where you may inexhaustibly interchange and interpose the nuances of your own understanding and come to learn more about yourselves in detail. So this means where you inexhaustively interchange and interpose. To interchange things is between two things, looking at two ways, two different angles, right? Seeing it from different angles, experimenting. So this is like you may inexhaustively see things from new angles. So it's trying really to understand yourself by looking at yourself from different angles, is what they're talking about. And you can do this to learn as much as you possibly can. The more that we take the time to see ourselves from different angles, to see how others might experience you or how you might feel if you responded differently, like all these different ways you can approach the same circumstance are all opportunities for learning. If we just slow down and don't just barrel through our hardships, we can take those learnings from it. Yeah. To see what you are, but without calamitous effect. To see what you are, to have and hold your own belonging, but in the context of perusal. So they're saying when we do this, when we slow it down, it doesn't hurt as much. That we don't feel it as a great big injury. That this gives us this massive side benefit of it's not ouchy, right? That we get the learning and we are helped through it in such a way that there's no pain. Yeah, or not as much pain. Super, super good. All right. And you're saying we have all the time in the universe. Yes, exactly. And hello, great to see you, Camille. Yeah. And Mike is saying, or Brandy saying, absolutely. Yep. All right. An inexhaustible substance, time is and can be gotten. Who doesn't love that one? Time is the function of your noticing the passing of the instances of the now reflection. So that was an interesting line. An inexhaustible substance, time is and can be gotten. So they're saying time, there's endless time. Time goes on and on and on and on. We can make more of it. Just by slowing down, we make more time, is what they're saying. But they're saying it's inexhaustible. We always think of time as this rare substance that we're running out of because we're on a schedule. But if there's no schedule, then time is endless. It just moves. You go through an afternoon and there's nothing but time, right? It's full of time. And they say time is the function of your noticing the passing of the instances of the now reflection. So in other words, we are the ones that create time because we're living in the now and we're noticing, oh, that moment's gone now. So that's now my past. So that must be past. And that must mean that there's a present. So we are in the process of noticing the passing of the instances of the now. We are creating time. That's pretty cool. We wish to expand the state of your vision. So this is how we see time, but they want us to see it differently. To expand the wonderment that you possess, to let it draw out further for your own perusal. So through our wonderment, expand time. To allow yourself to experience the light that is passing through this realm of experience, but from the perspective of yielding. So, and then they go on to say, yielding the self to the favor of your own curiosity. And in this space and in the happening, with the absence of the traumatic response, you can feel the gravity upon yourself and let drift down all that is callous and careworn, and see for the self what you are in calm reflection. So this idea of understanding time and understanding we can change our experience of time because we are creating it by our experience of it moment to moment, by counting the seconds that go by our awareness of seconds going by. And if we infuse those moments with presence, right, with our awareness, they stretch and become longer. We settle down, we get quiet, and we take that time, right, in our wonderment at our own process and see the difficulties that are coming at us, right, and allow ourselves to experience them. Right? And they're saying by doing this, we're allowing ourselves to experience the light that is passing through this realm of experience, yielding the self to the favor of your own curiosity. So the light that's coming through is what's helping to trigger us. It's creating all these circumstances in which we're confronting ourselves. And we are in this process, we want to be curious about ourselves. We want to be in a space of learning, right? And then they say if we do that with the absence of traumatic, because it will take away the traumatic response to what's happening, we then feel the gravity of being in the present moment. It pulls us, it centers us, grounds us. And in that grounding, we let drift down all that is callous and careworn, so all the hardship, and see for yourselves what you are in calm reflection. So they're describing the process of taking away the pain, which is like awesome, right? Awesome, awesome. They go on to say, all that you are wont to do, the world marches on in a painful reflection of speed and hurriedness. There is the sense of time pressing, that all must conjunct readily at the same time and be held hereafter differently. We say this is not true. So I think there has been a lot of information out in the world that this idea of this shift is that it's going to happen at once. And it's that thing of like, oh my gosh, like you were saying earlier, like, did I miss the boat, right? And they're saying the boat is not, there's not one boat. That it's, everybody has their own personal watercraft in this whole shift, that we all get a boat. So you get to decide your boat and how it goes. And that is super, super, super cool. And yes, these energies are coming, but the energies are going to be working with us no matter what. Like, we can't help it. They're coming, and they are going to be working upon us, whatever our current state of being is. So they're saying that the feeling, or this idea that it's been, that it has been a moment, or that we're up trying to work up towards the one instant, creates this sense of pressing and that we have to hurry up. And they're saying, let go of that. We say this is not true. There is not the pressurized experience that must be had. It can be one of individuality, one that is chosen by you, one that is experienced differently from now. And to feel within the self that which you have been fielding, that which is risen into your conscious awareness, which has been difficult, that which is trying, which has felt in conflict, can be dissipated, can be watched and reared into awareness in a gentle certitude and confidence in your perspective. So they're really saying, like, everything you're experiencing, all the hardship, if we just slow it down, see it from other perspectives, allow ourselves to see it as something that we're learning through, that will dissipate the energy of the discomfort, the pain, everything that we've been going through. It will allow us to absorb the learning without experiencing the pain, right? Which is super, super cool. They go on to say, this can happen through the expansion, through a willingness of yourself to increase the time fold within which you exist, to let your perception of each moment slow down, to let yourselves and your heartbeat diminish in its intensity. So, which is, I love that. To become sacrosanct in your observance of what comes. So, and sacrosanct means too valuable or important to be interfered with. So your observance can't be interfered with. In other words, there's no amount of chaos in the world that's going to mess with you, that you can still stay in this perspective of, I'm going to slow it down, whatever's happening, slow it down, be present, notice what I'm feeling, notice what is happening, learn from my experience, learn from what I'm feeling, right? And if that is sacrosanct, if we don't let anything ruffle our feathers, we just stay in that space, then all of this passes more easily. They go on to say, to let drift no more the self into the fevered pitch of the all and the always, but to trace your steps lovingly. So they're saying everybody around you who is not necessarily self-aware is going to be rushing, right? And they're going to be engaging and getting triggered and rushing harder because they're getting triggered. And they're saying, don't engage in that. To let drift no more the self into the fevered pitch of the all. Don't let yourself be pulled, sucked into it, into the drama or into the fear, whatever it is, the anger, whatever's going on out there. But to trace your steps lovingly, to linger within the moments, to take the calm that presents itself and to recognize that in so doing, all rises to meet your expectations, and you may take one small bite as opposed to the whole of your environment. So it just slows it down, that you can digest it all, rather than all at once. You can digest it slowly. You can take it in a way that feels easy. And they go on to say, in so doing, that which meets you is diminished. So this is the process by which we make it easier for ourselves, made to feel and be experienced as something lessened in its impact. However, because deeply contemplated, it leaves its understanding more permanently. You take in and harbor for the self that which has meaning and exists not in the turmoil that can potentially be held within it. So this is really, really cool, right? It is, however, because deeply contemplated, because we're really thinking about it, you actually understand it better. So when we slow it down, not only do we benefit because we don't feel the pain, it doesn't disturb us as much, but we also take a whole lot more from every single bite of life, right? We understand ourselves better, we get more from it, and exist not in the turmoil that can potentially be held within it. So very, very cool. They go on to say, there is in each objective that you encounter the energy to be yielded. It is as chemistry, and a reaction is occurring between yourself and that which you encounter. So they're using this as a metaphor. They're saying that in each objective you encounter, there is energy in every encounter. So whenever you're going out into the world, when something meets you, there is energy in that combination. This is interesting. And they're saying it's like chemistry, that a reaction occurs. So think about reactions are like explosions, right? We think of that, but they say these reactions contain an energetic release. This can be felt in the body and in the emotions as something trying and potent. So as it hits you, boom, and you feel it and your emotions rise and anger comes up or whatever it is. They said, or they can be exhausted. That energy can be exhausted by the simple need to contemplate, by the simple reverence for the time that is passing. So this is a super cool idea. So you can imagine that the energy is there. It has to go somewhere. And if it happens all at once really fast because we're rushing, it's going to be an explosion because the energy's got to go. And we're only giving it this much time. But if we give it this much time, then it's not an explosion. It's just like a little burp, It's easy. So a very, very cool concept. And you say effortlessly thinking of self-expanding. Yes, I love it. All right, in this last paragraph, they say the acknowledgement that the chaotic combustion that is happening is lessened when you are in no entrapment, in no congealed experience, in no method of being drawn forward that does not come with your own knowledge. When you are conscious of the self, when you are aware of your passage, when you are drawn into the experience of life with full knowledge. In so doing, you welcome home the experiences of conflict and difficulty within a frequency you can harbor more easily, within the tolerances of your own good grace. And that, I think, is such a cool choice of words there. That a good grace is a virtue coming from the divine, from God, and a freely given assistance for regeneration is what grace is, freely given assistance for regeneration. So this to me is a reference to the fact that we are divine. Right? They're saying within your own good grace. So this is like, hey, we have that divinity within us. And here they're saying that this whole thing is about thinning the veil to see ourselves better, right? They go on to say you can feel yourself transported into the boundaryless experience of mastery of self, soul, and seat. And think about that, the boundaryless experience. So we are eternal, right? We are moving toward oneness, and that is a boundaryless state. Like to be in the state of oneness, if we're one with everyone, then we are boundaryless. And this is really interesting because this whole word boundaryless has been super, super triggering for some people, because I understand that when people are in traumatic situations, when you have people who are suffering abuse of any sort, that boundaries, or even people who are trying to recover themselves, who have been in a state of disempowerment, that finding boundaries is critical. And I do not deny that. I'm in 100% agreement that boundaries are an essential part of recovery, and that they help us enormously to learn how to come back into balance. But we are all agreeing that the next state of consciousness we're trying to move into is different. And in this new state of consciousness, what we're trying to achieve is oneness. And in a state of oneness, boundaries, it's not that we don't need them when we are still suffering from a state of a disempowerment, but when we have become empowered, then we don't need boundaries anymore because we hold our own self as sovereign. So boundaries become meaningless. And when that happens, we are open and willing to enter into a union, a state of oneness with everyone. So I hope that helps with those of you who have been angry that I use the word boundaryless. And there hasn't been a lot of people, but a few people have mentioned it. And I just want to mention that I do get it. I do get why boundaries are critical. And they are critical for us in the world that we've been living in. But the world is changing and we are changing. And that is a good thing, a really good thing. So yeah, and so the angels use it. They say boundaryless. You can feel yourself transported into the boundaryless experience of mastery of self, soul, and seat. And that is what it's all about. It's about mastering our own internal harmony of self, right? Of balancing our masculine and feminine energies, male and female energies, and bringing those into union with our higher self and source, right? Which is only good. It's only good. And Mike is saying no boundaries in wholeness. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Brandy's saying, I feel that no matter what comes your way, you need to stay centered in knowing who we really are. Staying centered helps one to simply observe the situation, knowing all is divinely ordained, happen for a reason, and have compassion for others. Do you know, I am so glad you mentioned the magic word compassion. That is the magic word of the day. I know we've had like so many words of the day today, but compassion is like such a big one, because that just came up actually in a conversation I just had about like, what do we do with all the people who may be super in resistance, who may be really, really, really trying super hard to keep things the way that they are, and may be totally unwilling to embrace this change. And the answer is compassion. And that was the answer that I got, compassion, and to recognize that they are just like we are, but that they are having a difficult experience. So there's no judgment at all. It is only compassion. Yeah. So, and the compassion that comes from a state of relatability, right? From understanding that we have gone through our stuff too. Yeah. And it's not a race. We're all going to get to the same place in the end, because we're all the same soul. So there's no winners. we're all just helping each other get there. So yeah, no one is better than anybody else. So anyways, except you guys. You guys are better than everyone. Okay, I'm getting goofy. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It is super fun to spend this time with you. And thank you for joining me, even though I was a little late today. For those of you who are local and want to come to spend some time with me in person, you know, I have 3 events coming up. And one is in New York, September 30th. One is in Los Angeles, 11/11. And those are both very divine dates. It's fun to think like that just happened. Like I didn't even realize it until afterwards, but both of the dates are like beautifully numeric. And then there is our local event in Seattle, where I am, which is the Wisdom Soup Spirit Summit, which is a beautiful full-day healing retreat to celebrate healers and healing in our area. So anyways, hopefully you guys will join me. I would love to meet you in person. And thank you guys so much. Sending you lots of love. And I will see you. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next Friday live. Bye, you guys.